Ken Whiting with Paddle TV with yet another gear review, and in this video I'm reviewing this beauty right here. This is the Melker Varmdo touring kayak. It really is one of the most beautiful kayaks I've ever seen. I'm going to get this thing down and head to the water, and while I do, let me tell you a bit more about this kayak. The Melker Varmdo comes in two sizes, HV, high volume, and LV, low volume. I was testing the HV model. The Varmdo retails for around $3,800 for the trad core layup and $5,000 for the cork core layup. It's 14.5 feet long. It's 24.5 inches wide. The cork core model weighs 44 pounds, while the trad core model weighs 51 pounds. It has 200 liters of storage, and the optimal paddler weight is 175 to 275 pounds or 75 to 120 kilos. Now, the Melker Varmdo features its new premium seat, which can be mounted in 3 different positions to accommodate different size paddlers. It comes with an integrated skeg, but it's ready for a rudder to be installed too. It has 3 hatches, a small day hatch up front, and then 2 main hatches, a bow hatch and a stern hatch, which provide a combined 200 liters of storage. It has a recessed foredeck for a water bottle or pump, and of course it's got all the perimeter lines and bungees. Now, what has separated Melker from the pack is their commitment to producing kayaks as sustainably as possible and as beautifully as possible. And I mean, it really is a stunning kayak to look at. There's nothing else like it in the market. But how does it paddle? That's what I've got to find out. And so I'm going to take this thing for a good test. And then I'll tell you a bit more about what I've discovered. Oh, everything's better now. Well, that was a very fun kayak test to do. I love it when kayak companies say it's an all-around kayak, because that's like a dare. It's a license for me to go out and really put a boat in conditions that it may not actually be designed for. You really get a feel for how a boat performs in any conditions when you put it in really rough conditions. So let's break it down though. My review after paddling this thing on flat water and in the rough water, my review of the Melker Varmdo, and this time I'm going to start with something I never start with in a boat review, and that's the sustainability side of things, because that is one of the key differentiators between Melker Kayaks and all the other kayak companies. Their mission is to produce kayaks sustainably, and the way they do that is, this is a composite boat, but instead of carbon and Kevlar, they use renewable sources like cork or flax or recycled plastic bottles. And then the resin and the gel coat is also partly plant-based. So, I mean, extremely high marks for sustainability. The other neat thing they do is to prototype the boats. They 3D print their prototypes and they use recycled plastics to 3D print. Things like worn out fishing nets and things like that. Very cool what they're doing. And they managed to marry that somehow with aesthetics. They make a much more sustainable kayak and an absolutely stunning kayak to look at. But that's not what I'm really reviewing. It's aesthetics. I'm reviewing its performance. So let's get into that. Performance. It's a 14.5 foot kayak. It's around 24 inches wide. That says to me, even before I went paddling, that said, this is designed to balance speed and stability. Because if you have a narrower kayak, which many longer sea kayaks are, then it's going to travel faster. It should travel faster. And if, you have a wider boat, then it's going to be more stable. The those are the trade-offs. This boat does exactly what I expected it to do. It is a great balance of performance and stability. It's a boat that a beginner paddler can hop into and paddle around in the flat water and be very comfortable, feel stable, feel confident. At the same time, it's a boat that an expert paddler can hop into and not feel that, hey, it's sacrificed too much other performance for that stability. I mean, if a boat's too wide, it's hard to edge, it's too slow. Well, no, you don't feel that at all. You don't feel like, hey, I gave up too much to get the stability. It's still very easy to move from edge to edge, and it's still a fast boat. Not the fastest boat in the world, but it's a 14.5-foot sea kayak, or touring kayak. It moves. Now, the other part of performance that we need to talk about is speed, or forward speed, and tracking versus maneuverability. The longer a kayak is, typically, the better it travels in a straight line, but the less maneuverable, the harder it is to turn. At 14.5 feet, this is not a long sea kayak, but it's still a long boat, and so it's not the most maneuverable kayak in the world, that's for sure. But for a 14.5-foot boat, it is very maneuverable, and that's because it has so much rocker. Well, I shouldn't say so much rocker. It has significant rocker, and that's a curvature that you see of the bottom of the kayak, or the banana shape when you look at it from the side here. And the more rocker a kayak has, the more easily it's going to turn. And once again, this is a boat of balance. It balances forward speed with maneuverability because of the amount of rocker it has. Now, if this kayak had less rocker, it was more flat-hulled, then it would track better and it would be faster, absolutely. But it'd also be much harder to turn, be a lot less maneuverable. This offers a great balance of those two things: forward speed and tracking, and maneuverability. As soon as you put this boat on edge, in flat water and in rough water, it turns. It turns really, really well, surprisingly quickly. One area that didn't enhance the control that I got out of this kayak is the hip padding. They do have a very simple block of foam glued in to provide some contact at the side of the boat, but it's not an advanced hip padding. When I'm in rough conditions, when I'm playing in surf, when I'm doing anything that requires real edging control, I want the boat to feel like a good pair of trail runners, snug but comfortable. And you need a good set of hip pads to do that. Now, that's something you can 100% add after the fact, get a third-party hip padding system, but it is something that if you're looking to do advanced paddling in rough conditions, you're going to want to do. The backband, on the other hand, is very solid. It's a comfortable backband. Since we're talking about this whole cockpit area, let's talk about comfort. This is the HV, the high volume version of the Varmdo. There's a low volume, an LV. Now, I have plenty of space in this kayak. Not too much space, pretty much a great amount of space. I'm 6'2", I'm 195 pounds. I've got a 34-inch inseam. The foot pegs provide a good, hard, easy to adjust platform. Lots of knee room, not lots of knee room, but enough knee room, enough foot room. The foot pegs aren't at the end. There's room to be bigger than me in this thing. Not a lot bigger. There's not many kayaks that accommodate people, you know, bigger than 6'5", taller than 6'5". But you can definitely be taller than me, have a longer inseam than me, and still enjoy this boat. It's a totally comfortable setup. If you're a smaller paddler than me, significantly smaller, you'd probably want to get the low volume. You would want to get the low volume version because this would feel too roomy, a bit too big. Not that it would be uncomfortable, it'd just be feel too big. You'd lose some control because you'd feel a bit lost in it. Is it the most comfortable kayak on the market? Absolutely not. I mean, you can get seating systems that have thicker, more contoured pads, or even suspension seats. So you can get supports under your legs to hold your legs up. There are other seats that are more comfortable, but that doesn't mean this is uncomfortable. It just means that, hey, it's fairly simple in its comfort. Now, one other thing that's worth noting about comfort and control is the fact that the seat itself is, it moves. It's designed to move into 3 different positions so that you can trim the kayak depending on your weight, your size. You can balance the kayak optimally. You also, that allows you, it gives you a bit more room in the boat. If you move the seat to the back and you move the foot pegs as far forward as possible, that's how the largest paddler is going to sit in here. Now let's talk portability. And there's not a whole lot to say about portability because it's not a portable kayak. It's not like an inflatable kayak or a folding kayak, something that packs right down. But still, how easy is it to move this boat around? It's 14.5 feet long. And my general rule is kayaks that are 12 feet or less are generally fairly easy for a single person to move around. The longer they are than over 12 feet, the more awkward they get. Now, 14.5 feet is not at that super awkward level yet. It's still very manageable for a single person. It's not like a sea kayak that's 16 and 17 feet long, which can be quite awkward for a single person. And it really helps that this thing is only 44 pounds. Now, it's not the absolute lightest 14.5 foot kayak that you can get, but it's pretty darn close. To put it in perspective, a typical plastic rotomolded touring kayak that's 14.5 feet will weigh about 65 pounds. I mean, that's around 50% more than this thing. The fact that it's 44 pounds definitely makes it portable. When it comes to tying it onto your vehicle, ease of transport, it's a composite kayak. It's not a rotomolded plastic boat, which means you have to take care of this thing. You can't just crank it down onto a roof rack. You should have padded racks for sure. Ideally, some type of cradles to hold this thing in. Any composite kayak or even thermoformed kayak, you really need to go take extra care when transporting them. And that kind of brings us to durability. How much care do you have to take for transporting them and when you're on the water? Well, when it comes to composite kayaks, the lighter the layup, so the more lightweight the kayak is, the more fragile it's going to be. Fragile isn't the right word. The less durable it's going to be, because they are still surprisingly durable, but the more you have to be careful. So the balance it provides is, hey, it's a lightweight kayak, but it's not an ultra light kayak, and in return, you get a kayak that has more durability than an ultralight kayak. I'd say moderate durability. I'm not going to test that. But the fact that I took it into the water, that I did take it in without even thinking about it, says that, hey, I'm not babying this thing, but I am taking care of it. When I launched the kayak, I didn't, get into it on the rocky shoreline and then slide myself in. No, I took it almost completely into the water, got in so that it wasn't grinding on the rocky or sandy shoreline too much. I'm certainly not dragging it to the water or across, I'll drag it a little bit on the grass maybe, but I'm not dragging it across rough surfaces. I'm taking care of it. I'm patting the racks of my vehicle. When I'm cranking it down, tying it down, I'm not just cranking it down as hard as I can. I'm just taking care of it. So who is this kayak for? Well, they say it's for pretty much everyone from beginner to expert kayaker, depending on what you want to do, because it can accommodate all types of paddling, flat water paddling to rough water paddling. My feeling is they have a really, really good argument. It is an all-round touring kayak because it offers such a balance of stability and performance, maneuverability and performance, and even the balance of lightweight and durability. It is a boat that you can really do almost anything within reason. It handles rough water very well, but it's also very fun just on the flat water. I think the only weakness in a boat like this is the fact that it's good at everything, but it doesn't do any one thing amazing. And that's the reality of getting an all-round kayak of any nature, whether it's a whitewater kayak, a touring kayak, sea kayak, wreck kayak. If you want something that's great at one thing, you need a specific type of kayak. If you want something that can handle a wide variety of conditions, there's a good chance, a great chance that it won't be the best at any one thing. But with that, you get a kayak that you'll grow with. You'll grow with it and it will grow with you, meaning as you progress as a paddler, from a flatwater paddler onward, and maybe you don't get into rough water, but maybe you do get into rough water. This boat is a boat that you can keep with you on that journey. And even if you're not really interested in flat water, when the wind picks up, and like today, it's a windy day today, even small bodies of water get choppy. Bigger bodies of water get quite choppy. This is a boat that'll does handle chop very well. And so even for beginner or experienced paddlers who really just want a flat water kayak, but a flat water kayak that can handle choppy scenarios, it's a great kayak for that. Now let's talk value. And I'm having to do this after the fact because when I was testing and doing my initial review of the Varmdo, I had the wrong price in my mind. I had the Canadian prices instead of the US prices. And so the actual US price for the Varmdo is around $3,800 US for the trad core layup and $5,000 US for the cork core layup. Now the big difference there is the cork core layup is 44 pounds versus 51 pounds. And it obviously has a very unique look, although they're both stunning boats. $3,800, $5,000, both, that's expensive. That's a lot of money for a kayak. But the thing is with composite kayaks, let's take carbon Kevlar kayaks in particular, you're going to spend at a very low end, $3,500 US. At a high end, $7,000 US for composite carbon Kevlar kayak. And so the Varmdo coming in at $3,800 and $5,000 is right in that low mid price range. And so it's a lot of money, but comparatively speaking, it's not a huge amount of money. It's still a huge amount of money, but it's very competitively priced. The fact that you get something that is truly unique looking, and stunning, but on top of that, uniquely manufactured, built, sustainably built, responsibly built, you could say. The prices that I thought it was in Canadian, it didn't surprise me because I expected to pay a little premium for the uniqueness of this boat and the sustainability of this boat. The fact that it comes in at the low to mid price range for composite kayaks says to me that this is a very good value kayak, but it's still a lot of money and it's not going to be for everybody. You have to be in the market and willing to spend the money that you need to get a high quality composite touring kayak. If you are looking and are willing to spend that kind of money, this is definitely a boat that offers good value. Is the right one for you? Well, you'll have to decide that. Now I'm gonna leave a link in the description box to the other two Melker kayaks that I reviewed, the Rodloga and the Ulvon, so you can compare the three and decide which, if any, are the right fit for you. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, this review. I have certainly enjoyed doing this review and enjoyed putting this kayak to the test in some fun whitewater. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Paddle TV if you haven't already, and stay tuned because I got a lot more paddling tips, gear reviews, and paddling adventures coming your way.